welcome to another episode of 3 Minute War Game.
Wee!
Yeah, I'm Paul.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Chris.
And we're all in the same room?
Holy weird.
How did that happen?
Right? Yeah, so this is a first for all of us, being in the same exact room, recording and Gundaming. Is that the right word?
Gundaming. Yeah, sure.
Gunplaying.
I'll allow it.
On the same damn microphone.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be an easy one to put together.
Yeah.
So,
and this is Kevin's and I's first time actually meeting in person.
I forget about that since I feel like we all hang out all the damn time.
Yeah, because I didn't get to go with you guys when you guys went to Disney last time.
Yep. Well, we have to make that happen.
Yes, I agree.
But so, Kevin, since you're down here in North Carolina with us, what are your thoughts and impressions of our state that we live in?
It's very green. I say coming from a very green state. Like Wisconsin is very green, but it's like very hilly, very hot, very green, and very tall. There's like lots of trees everywhere. And like at least in Madison and most of Wisconsin, if you're in like a town and you're at a high point, you can see everything in the city.
Oh.
And that's just not true here because the landscape changes so quickly and so much. And so that's not possible. But I really like it. Food's great. People have been really nice. Yeah. So far, so great. I really like it. The game store you guys took me to today was excellent.
Yeah. What, so speaking of food, keeping you fat and happy on your little vacay, what's been your favorite thing that you've had so far?
Oh boy. Favorite food I had so far. I'm gonna. Honestly, it's on my mind because the biscuit we had this morning. So they took me to this place called Rise, which is some kind of like, I don't know. It looking at it does feel like it has some religious undertones. The like righteous chicken, and the name of the place is Rise.
Oh yeah, that never dawned on me.
Yeah. like I said, I always go there for the donuts. I never usually get the biscuits.
Oh my gosh, I never thought of that.
I was like, oh, he has risen, this chicken biscuit.
This is why he came back.
For this pimento cheese.
Oh my gosh.
But it was really good. So that was great. I got to try Cookout. So people listening, not all the food, but I did just have a Cookout milkshake, which is a really solid milkshake. Yeah. Would recommend. Would go try another one of their bajillion flavors.
I think my favorite part of you trying that though was when you started drinking. I went, "Are you meant to drink this?"
I told you, man, it sucks because they give you like a normal straw, and it's such a thick milkshake.
Such a thick milkshake. Yeah. Yep. Really good. Man, yeah. Also, we went to, what was the Museum of Life and
Science out in Durham? Yeah, that's a fun place.
That place is amazing. Like, I've been to a lot of children's museums, but having a children's museum that has like an entire treehouse, treehouse like sequence was amazing. The butterfly area, and there was really cool.
Oh, the dinosaur! Did you do the dinosaur area?
A little bit of the walk through the dinosaurs.
There's so much to do at that place. It really needs like 2 days to do fully. It's
huge. The place the kids spent the most time though was like at the far end of one of the wings where it's like a rock structure with a bunch of stuff you can dig out and stack and build. And there's like a creek and a bunch of like mist machines. And then there's a bird watching area where Ella went. So I watched the kids while Ella went and watched birds for a little bit and got bit up by bugs.
That'll happen in North Carolina.
Yeah. Oh, there's another impression. It's loud as hell at night here, man. There's a lot of like cicadas.
I was like, you like our cicadas?
Yeah.
They're loud this year. They're normally not this loud, but
it sounds like a heartbeat outside of our Airbnb at nighttime.
Does it?
Like literally a heartbeat of cicadas.
Like this year makes me think of like Japan and cicadas.
Yes, and that's funny. That's actually what Paul said makes you think about Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Right. Yep. The very opening when it's nothing but the cicadas. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was just like that.
Yep. That's exactly what I thought.
We live in a Neon Genesis establishing shot.
Hopefully not that world.
Well, maybe. Yeah, so we're glad to have Chopz down here for a minute there. I almost forgot that we were recording and just enjoying our chat. But what we wanted to talk about today is just kind of what we've been gaming lately and all that stuff. So, Chris, what have you been doing lately?
I was like, I'll go first because my list is way smaller. So I've not gotten a game with it yet, but I did pick up my Syndicate army for Legion.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So I've got a couple of those pieces built. I don't have the whole army built yet, but I'm looking forward to getting that on the table. Especially when the swoop bikes come in. I think this month. I'm hoping. I got them on pre-order.
Nice.
So, and then the IG assassin robots come out. I think the same time.
Oh, I didn't realize those were on the.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting those. But what I've actually got, I played a game of A Song of Ice and Fire.
You did.
I did.
How did that go?
I got my ass kicked. Because I was playing a janky list and completely forgot that you play Targaryens and you have an all cav option with your army,
which I am definitely using right now.
Yeah. So when I brought my all cav Baratheon army, because I was just being silly and wanted to play it, yeah, it didn't do well against your speedy dudes.
Yeah, they were pretty quick, that's for sure.
Plus your morale checks of, oh my god, never failing.
Kevin, when I shit you not, I did not fail a single morale check in that entire game.
You had the dice. The dice got
absolutely.
Well, he also had Drogo with a card on him.
With his Blood Riders.
He was a Drogo with his Blood Riders. He had a card on him that I think increased your morale. And Drogo himself increases the morale of the unit.
No. Drogo increases the morale of the unit. The card reduced wounds from...
That's what it was.
Which Drogo also does. So the most
Correct.
I could have even taken was one.
Right. And then he basically had Khaleesi influencing them every turn.
Right. So then they had rerolls regardless, and they're the ones with the 3-up. Like
and
my
it
own
was
guys
just
with the 3-up save.
Renly got stuck in with them with his unit of
I was gonna say
wardens.
Exactly.
And Renly went nowhere. Oh,
well, and
because you also challenged him to a duel, which I promptly lost because it's Renly.
Well, not only. Well, I mean, there's no option.
Janky.
I don't. That's one rule I do not like in that game. I don't like that you just picked an attachment, roll a die, and on a 3+, it's dead.
Yeah.
But the assassin one.
Yeah.
Like at the very least, it should not be able to affect commands.
Well, and so the thing with that too is normally it probably wouldn't have been a big issue. But because we were playing a mission that had recursion that allowed us to bring the units back on the board after they died with their attachments.
Right. That would have been fine.
It would have been fine if my wardens would stop passing their armor saves.
So I could not you kept Khal Drogo.
I tied Drogo
contained, but at that point I'm like, well, I'm on 3-up saves. I'm not too worried about it. If I kill him, Renly comes back. This is ideal.
Right.
So I was fine with that. Yeah. I had no issue with that at all.
The wardens did the job that they are designed to do. They are a tar pit unit, and they tied Drogo up.
Yep.
But they were my only non-cav unit because I took a unit of Grail Knights or Hedge Knights with a Glory Seeker, and then I had a unit of Champions of the Stag. And then I had the new High Garden Cavalry in there as well for some light, fast cavalry. And of course, they failed at doing their job continuously as well too because I couldn't get the Alpha Strike. I couldn't get the Alpha Strike off. I had it lined up. All I needed was a 2. Rolled a 1.
Oh my god! Yeah. And then at that point, since he was locked in with my veterans at that point, so then they just kept saying, "Oh, you attacked me. I'm retreating. I'm shooting you with my bow. All right, now I'm activating, so I'm going to charge you."
Oof.
And that was pretty much how those turns went for that unit. So really,
that's how that game went for 3 to 4 turns.
Yeah. It was rough. It was a very brutal game, as Song of Ice and Fire is. But you definitely got the short end of the stick.
Wait, guys, I just had a funny moment. So, listeners, this is not great radio, but we're building Gundams, and I had 7 steps ago. zigged when I should have zagged.
Oh no!
And I had to undo all of it. And then in undoing all of it and listening and wanting to participate, I thought I had lost a piece. And I just spent like the last 4 or 5 minutes looking because I thought I lost it. And it was literally on the model. So I hadn't lost it.
Oh, fantastic.
That's Gundam fun right there.
But yeah, going. It's not like Lego where going back 7 steps is a minor inconvenience. It's like
It's a major.
Yeah, it is.
It's like just buy a new one.
But I did it. I have it. I have 2 chicken legs.
Oh, good. I'm almost done with the body.
Yeah, so other than that, that's all I've really gotten. Paul's trying to help me get out of my funk of not playing in public right now because of COVID, and I still have that kind of anxiety because and it's not so much like I'm afraid to go out because of COVID. It's more along the lines of, COVID staying home the last 2 years made my social anxiety worse. So it's more of a social anxiety thing and just being around people.
Yep.
So he's trying to help me get that out of that funk. So hopefully that'll help.
We ended up playing at your place.
We tried 2 different gaming stores, but they were either busy or had other things that stopped us from being able to play. So
Yep. So here we are. But yeah, it was a good time though. It's been a while since we've played too. So
yeah. And then other than that, I've just been buying and building Gundams.
Any good Gundams built recently?
The Master Grade Master Grade Strike Freedom from Gundam Seed.
That does sound like a good one.
I built that one the other night.
Excellent.
Oh, that's the MG that we just looked at earlier.
Yeah, that was the MG that you just looked at. He's a monstrosity. He is huge. His wingspan is ginormous. The cool thing though is when you start pulling like one wing, there's articulation in it, and it opens up all of it wings on that side.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the articulation in that's really cool.
I support that.
Yeah.
All right, Chopz, what you been playing?
Well, miniatures wise, I played a game of Kings of War.
Okay, that's exciting. That's a new one. But it's something you've been talking about.
It's weird, right?
Because
I had spent hours and hours and hours and hours hobbying on Kings of War, and so it was kind of cool because you think about it. You guys must remember when that fateful multi-$100 purchase I made.
Yep.
From Miniature Market when all the Wrath of Kings minis went on clearance, and I was like, I'm gonna make a Kings of War army with this.
Which still sounds like it was a good choice.
Still, yeah, I would agree. I think it was a very good choice.
Those Shark Boys are awesome.
Yep, and they turned out really well. And I got to meet a new player in the local area, so that was really cool. We met up, so I played my very first game of Kings of War with someone I'd never played a war game before with, and he ended up being a very gracious opponent. We had a really, really, really fun game where I thought I was winning the whole time until I realized what I was doing was not actually playing for the win of the game. It was playing for my shark people to eat people. And so the scenario we played was get the most unit strength of your units onto your opponent's side of the field.
Okay.
And I was like, unit strength, that doesn't stat I don't care about. I'm trying to kill things. As long as I have guys on his side of the table and he doesn't have any left, surely I'll win. He brought humans, and so it was a 1,500 point game, and in the 1,500 points are 1,250, and in the 1,250, I had I think like 7 stands of units, and he had like 14, like 13 or 14, and I was just murdering. Like he only had 3 left at the end of the game,
right?
And I had plenty on his side of the table. The issue is that his army had more unit strength per regiment that he was running. And so very clearly or cleverly, he got the units with high unit strength across onto my side of the field and just let me sort of chew through his chaff.
Literally?
Yeah, literally chew through it. But that's a really cool balancing feature of Kings of War, is that even though his like huge, massive soldiers kind of folded like wet paper towels into my Trident realms, right? Because he had more unit strength on the objectives, he won the day.
That's interesting.
Very Malifaux.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was the first time you played, right?
It was the first time I played.
What impressions do you have about the game?
My first and I think most important impression from a wargaming perspective is that I Go You Go isn't a 4-letter word, right? Like we shouldn't think of like I go you go as like a bad gaming device. I think a lot of us get really hung up in like how hip and cool alternating activations are.
I mean, they are, but
they are. No, they are. It's great, and alternating activation games are great. And you think about Infinity's at its core, and I go you go. It's just got like a hook that makes it a little bit better.
Right.
And the thing about Kings of War, though, is the hook that I'm going to tell you would actually make it seem worse in principle. And that's when it's not your turn. You don't roll dice at all.
Oh, interesting.
Like
Okay.
you don't even
like no
know
saves.
that your opponent rolls your saves.
Huh?
Yeah.
Well, you got Potter's attention.
that like it just doesn't seem right to me.
Well, because it's not really saves. It's basically it's rolling. You roll to hit, and then you roll to wound.
Right.
And wounds carry over. But the way that units in Kings of War work, it's not like you pull units off. It's not like you pull ranks off a tray in a Song of Ice and Fire. And this is why people multi-base, because all you do is you track wounds.
Right. Yeah, I knew that about it.
On the back of a unit, and then at the end of each combat, well, each melee combat, you roll a d6, or it's 2d6. You roll 2d6, and if the number of 2d6 plus the number of wounds exceeds that unit's nerve, they're just gone and wiped out. And so that's how you actually kill models. And so if you have a unit that has a unit strength or a nerve of 17 or 19, you have to take a lot of wounds before your guys will even flee.
Right.
Like it's not even mathematically possible if they have 19 to flee until they have 12 or not 7 wounds on them, right? So they have to have 7 wounds before they would even a 12 would get them to flee.
Right.
And then there are rules for heroes and things that make your opponent re-roll the nerve checks for your guys to see if they'll. It's called inspiring. And so if you have inspiring units, that's one way to like make it so that your guys stick around better, and it's your choice. So if they roll and you guys and you pass your nerve, if they roll and your nerve passes, you can just say cool. But if they roll and it's over your nerve, you can go no, inspiring. Go ahead and re-roll those 2 again,
cool.
please.
Yeah. So especially if it's you need a 12.
Yep.
There's a good chance that that's not
Not
going
going
to
to happen.
stick. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is that Snake Eyes always fails. So even if they get you, you're always having them roll for the chance for Snake Eyes, because then your guys will stay around for another round.
Right.
Very cool.
Huh. It's kind of neat.
Yeah. So it makes it really cool that way. And also the units and the abilities that the units have are deeply thematic.
Okay.
Like it's more like Infinity, where there's a series of keywords, and then the way they interlace melee strength to hit the abilities, like the way they combine all those elements onto each unit, along with the specific rules for the armies, and the relics and magic things you can take, and the spells that your spellcasters have access to, really makes these very different feeling armies.
Okay.
That's cool.
So how does it compare to like going old school here, and the obvious comparison, like old school Warhammer
Fantasy?
Yeah.
Way faster, way cleaner. So there aren't any charts.
Okay.
So you're not worried about that at all. Basically, you bring your list, and it's just like Infinity, where you bring your list and you bring a list for your opponent. Here you go.
Okay.
Here's what my dudes do. And once you know that, and especially once you have your opponent's list, it's really easy to just handle everything.
Right.
Because you know all of your roles. You know
Right.
everything you need to do based on the 2 lists, and so you don't need charts.
Right.
And everything is sort of handled very procedurally. So another really cool thing about the melee phase is you decide the order that the melee combats happen when you're the turn player. And so you can do really slick stuff, because just like in A Song of Ice and Fire, if you completely annihilate a unit, your units that were touching that unit can remaneuver, and they have choices of things that they can do based on how you rolled and what you or based on what you killed and how and what positions you were on their flank or in the front. And that makes it really cool. It's been a long time since I played fantasy, right? Like
me too.
18, 19 years. So some of the details are a little fuzzy.
It's been a minute.
But there's no accounting for individual models at all.
That's nice.
I mean, there are heroes, but the heroes are basically on stands, so they just act like a smaller version of the bigger units. The other thing that's really cool is I forgot how fun it is to roll like 30 dice.
that is a good feeling that don't get really anymore when you're not playing a GW mass battle game.
Yeah.
Bucket of dice.
And buckets of dice aren't as frequent as you think, because most things like a high attack value in the game is like 10 or 12.
Okay.
But if you're on the side, it's double attacks, and if you're in the rear, it's triple.
Ooh, holy shit!
Okay, so that's how they handle the flanking.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how you get into situations where you start rolling.
And I see how that gets played into that math of getting people to run and all that. So that makes sense.
And it makes positioning so important.
Oh yeah,
right.
Like giving someone your flank in a Song of Ice and Fire is bad.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad, but it's not like, oh no.
Right.
And in Kings of War, if the wrong thing gets your flank, you're in deep shit.
I can imagine a bunch of sharks going into your flank would not be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
But there's other cool stuff too, right? Like there are big Titan models, like my Leviathan, and my Leviathan is just like chewing through his stuff. And then I only realized after our game that there are armies that have heroes that always roll like they're rear charging Titans.
Jeez.
No matter where they have the Titan.
Wow.
And so that, that's like interplay across the table. Like, oh, you've got one of those things where if that thing gets close to my Titan, it's a Titan killer. It's just going to melt it.
Right.
And so it makes it so you can't just bring these indestructible monsters and rely on them.
I like that.
Which is good.
That's good game design.
It's great game design. And another thing is how you build your forces. So the way you build your forces in this game is all your list building is predicated on your troop choices.
Okay.
So there's different sizes of troops. So if you take we'll just call them bog standard soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
If you take
your FUD
FUDs. If you take 10 FUDs, that's a troop.
Okay.
If you take 20 FUDs, that's a regiment.
Okay.
If you take 40 FUDs, that's a legion.
Okay.
And they're on increasingly sized bases.
Right.
So it limits their mobility when you get larger ones, but you get a discount. So it's generally, it's not a perfect slide for every one, but it's usually 10 to 20% savings.
Oh wow. Okay.
As you go up, right? So like where a unit might be 100 points for a regiment, or for a troop, the next step up the regiment might be 180.
Okay.
So you spend 20 less points for that X, and then you get the increased stats, increased unit strength, and unit strength increases a lot. Where a regiment might have, or a troop might have a unit strength of 0, a legion might have a unit strength of 5.
Makes sense.
So
that makes sense,
when you're like wanting to control objectives, you have to think about the units you're bringing, and then what ends up happening is that your regiment and legion choices unlock all your other options.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember when I was looking at the game before. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, so if you take a legion, that unlocks 2 or 4 troop options, and then any 2 options between heroes and monsters.
Right.
And so, like my army, I build it on a basis of 4 regiment or 4 legions, 4 big units of models, and then that unlocks everything on my table. Or hordes, not legions. It's troop, regiment, horde, legion. And I take the hordes. I take 4 hordes, and then that unlocks the rest of my stuff. Okay. But taking those 4 hordes costs me 1,000 points from out of my 2,000 point list.
I was like, that's
so
yeah,
it clogs up a huge amount. And if I take one out, then that limits my flexibility for what I take. So you have to it's like Infinity where you really have to think and sort of finesse the models you're going to bring. And the game has really good modular controls for your point values because a lot of them are bigger round numbers, but there's lots of upgrades and spells and things you can take. Like all your spellcasters generally have between 5 and 40 point upgrades to take spells. And also you can add like relics and like symbols of power, like think like musicians and stuff, right? To your other troops. And those cost increments, to 5 to 20 to 25 to 30 points. And then that really gives you a good way so that you're not like your 1895 army versus my 2,000 point army because I couldn't get up to that nice round number. It gives you a really good way to get right to the point value.
Right. Oh, that's great. I like that.
So I think that's a lot of my at least early impressions of things I like about Kings of War.
Are you going to play again?
Oh yeah, 100%. We're actually, I think on the last day of this month, I'm just verifying on my calendar. Yep, the 31st of this month, we have a meetup.
Oh, nice.
Right now, I think it's 6 of us.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, that are going to get together and play Kings of War and just hang out.
Now, are these newer people like creating the community, or is this an existing community you're joining now?
So it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
And then there's a couple people that I already know from playing other games. Right. So a friend from Flesh and Blood and a friend from Infinity.
Cool.
And the guy from Infinity also plays Crisis Protocol.
Okay.
But then there's also the guy that I just met and 2 other people that I still haven't played a game with yet, even though they're in the local community playing games and I know of them.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Good. That sounds fun. I'm always good to hear that some rank and flank games are out there living well.
And it's so fun, man. So fun.
Yeah, it's a much different game when you're doing that. I mean, I know, Song of Ice and Fire is rank and flank, but it still feels like a skirmish game.
A little bit, yeah. It feels like skirmish mentality with rank and flank movement, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So it doesn't quite. I don't know. It just doesn't feel, and maybe it's the volume of guys. Maybe that's part of what it is too. Is that you're still really 5 or 6 units on the table.
Yeah, I think in the game you and I just played, I think I had 4.
We each had 4 because
4 activations. Yeah, because it was all cavalry. But still, right.
Well, those are table. Right, you had 3 NCUs. I had 2 NCUs. So yeah. So I mean, like if you had 3 more units, that might make it feel a little bit different too, and a little more.
Well, I mean, I don't think so because. Well, I mean, I guess it depended. So my only experience with rank and flank is A Song of Ice and Fire in fantasy. So I guess it all depended on the army that you took in fantasy. Because I played dwarves mostly, which is
shocking.
Kind of, shocking. Yeah, most of your points are put into your cannons, anyways.
Right.
Or your
war machines.
Yeah, your war machines or your rune bearers to turn magic off.
Right.
So.
Yeah. See, I played dark elves, so we had a lot of troops and a lot of monsters. So that was kind of that hang up there. So I got used to lots of trays on the table and. So I mean, Song of Ice and Fire feels thin, but it feels the right size for the table.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. It's definitely not a bad side of it.
And I think the fact that the tray, your guys are pretty much only there for your wound counters and for your attacks.
Right.
It feels more like this is just one piece and these are its wounds.
That's what. That's what Kings of War.
I was like, I can imagine. Too. That's probably what that
exactly
feels like.
What it feels like. But also they represent your attack strength and your objective strength. And I think the thing I can't emphasize enough is that in A Song of Ice, and I love A Song of Ice and Fire. I actually, if I had to pick one that I like better, A Song of Ice and Fire. I think I like a little better, but I need to play Kings of War more, right? And get into it a little bit more. But one of the things I really like about Kings of War is the differing base sizes.
Right.
And there are some differing base sizes in A Song of Ice and Fire, but really, it's
really
like 3 or
not.
4.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And in Kings of War, it is a ton of different because your heroes can be on 20, 25, 40, or 50 mil.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have your monsters that are on 70 by or 75 by 75. And then your troops are up from those base sizes. So if you have a troop that would normally sit on a 20 mil,
Mm-hmm.
it is a 100 by 50, right? 4 across the front, 2 back. Or 5 across the front and 2 back. And then those base sizes get bigger and bigger and bigger. And your Legion is actually two rectangles put together into a super wide rectangle.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And what that means is you really have to think about maneuverability.
Right, that's huge.
Yeah. And how you use your models to block lanes and how they can do stuff. And that's one of the things that the game does is like, I have a model in my army called a Knucker.
Mm-hmm.
It's a monster on a 50 mil base that can move like 18 inches and has a nimble keyword, which means it can pivot twice during its movement.
Oh, geez.
And so that makes that thing, if you think about how that is on the battlefield, right? You've got your dudes that are marching in order, and then there's this monster like slithering across however it needs to come across. And that sort of feeling doesn't really happen in A Song of Ice and Fire. The movement is very like deliberate, and almost everything moves in similar patterns.
Well, because you don't get, even at that, you don't get to wheel in the middle of a movement. You're moving,
right.
Which is great for streamlining.
Yeah.
But you're right, it doesn't give you that like, oh, I'm going to go here and then move over here.
And not everything can wheel mid movement.
Right.
But this guy sure can.
Right.
And it makes it horrifying.
Well, it makes a sense that it's a monster and that it's one model compared to like 10, 20, 30 dudes trying to coordinate. That's a little bit harder.
Correct.
Right. But that, that also
feels
makes
more realistic.
Yeah, that variety there. I mean, and I guess they solved some of that in Song of Ice and Fire with, cavalry's getting their extra movement.
Yeah, they get a free maneuver, yeah.
But it would be, like, I feel like a dragon or a giant, should have a little more leeway on their movement.
Agreed.
It's like, oh, wait, they can't? Like, It's one guy. Why can't he move it a little to the left?
Sure. Yeah, I can definitely see that.
I mean, minor nitpickiness at that, because it's a very solid game system.
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially when I beat Potter handily. Anything else you've been playing, Kev?
I mean, Flesh and Blood, right?
How's that going?
Great. New set Uprising just came out.
Yep.
I actually have a new deck with me here down in North Carolina that I've never played before.
Ooh, so he can stomp us with that.
So a hero that I've never played, and a deck list that I wrote, so it's probably terrible. So that's really exciting. Also, recently, the way for people who don't play Flesh and Blood, you play a hero, and the cool thing is that when heroes win tournaments in this game, because the company that makes the game has a system that connects the entire player base together called GEM. And when heroes win tournaments, they earn what are called living legend points. And once a hero earns enough living legend points to become a living legend, that hero is no longer legal to play in tournament play. And we recently had 2 very poisonous heroes to the meta rotate out, and they are no longer legal.
It was the Bravo
star of the show
and Shane.
Yeah,
so Bravo took no time at all.
Yeah, Bravo was
barely. He was
new
made
to
a whole
the last. Yeah, he's only one set old.
Jeez.
But also that was like and this is sort of a thing that LSS is gonna. It's like I would take it as a learning lesson, and that they can't predict the meta easily, so they have to be very careful about card design, because what they said is that Bravo card, was designed between Monarch and Tales of Aria.
Okay.
Tales of Aria came out. Briar was a problem, and they errated Briar.
Right.
And then we had some other bans.
Right.
And those that when they tested Bravo, they were testing it in an environment where all the cards were legal and the erratas hadn't happened. So in that pre-ban, pre-errata environment, the new Bravo was fine.
Right, because those other cards.
Yes.
Whoopsie.
Interesting.
Yes. And
that's a learning lesson.
Yes. So the thing that they'll never be able to see around every corner because it's really hard to know how. But it makes
it's hard to know how the players are going to break the game.
Exactly.
That's the unfortunate game design of any game, whether it's video games, tabletop games, etc.
Yeah. But the cool thing is, while we had this sort of like poisonous meta for like 3 or 4 months, while Bravo was just winning half the events that people entered, now he's gone. And Chain, which is another hero that was sort of overpowered, not really, but in the hands of a skilled player, extremely hard to beat.
And in the hands of a player like me, you can't even figure out how to use it.
But that was a nice thing about Chain. Chain had a very high skill ceiling. It was low skill floor, high skill ceiling, which is really good.
Oh no, I didn't have the skills.
But the issue is that the skill ceiling is very high, and you have to be pretty high up it to do well.
Right.
And that's gone. So what it's looking like right now, at least from the first, because this is the second weekend of the newest competitive season, is that the meta is wide open.
That's good.
I have seen, I think 5 top 8s that had 7 heroes.
That's good.
Wow.
I like it when metas are like that.
That's great.
Yeah. So this might be the best meta the game's had. So very excited about Flesh and Blood right now, as if I wasn't always.
Right. But still, to be even more so, is even better.
Yeah. And I saw my favorite hero in the game, Levia, got her first classic constructed living legend points.
Oh, good. Good.
It took a while for someone to win a tournament with her.
Yeah, but
it's been done now. And that's a testament to the meta being open.
Right. No, yeah, exactly. That she's not.
And the person who won it was someone who's only played her.
Aw,
so it's like
really cool.
rewarding the mastery of that hero.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is a distracting thing, I think, about Fab. Because it's like, oh, I really like this master, or this one, or this one, or this one.
It's easy to get stuck into that.
Yeah, it's really easy to go, ooh, new shiny, or ooh, look at that, and play that. Because like I think I have played Dorinthia. I've played with the Orc Rage. Rhinar. I've played Rhinar. I just picked up the new Illusionist.
Dromai.
Yeah, Dromai. And I played what's the other Bolton. I played Bolton. So it's like I'm all over the place.
And it's easy to do that in the game. And the game, like buying the pre-constructed decks also is kind of a boon, right? It makes it really easy to experiment and try all the different flavors.
Yeah, I forgot that I bought Briar as well too. I really like Briar.
Briar's great. And and now I'm still playing Levia, my favorite hero in Blitz, but I'm trying this new hero, Icelander, in Classic Constructed now, because as a Magic player, I was a filthy blue-black control or Dimir control player, and so this deck feels the most like MTG's black-blue.
Okay.
Which is why I chose to give it a shot. It's an Ice Wizard.
Nice.
That sounds fun.
Super cool. So
I do want to try old him out.
Yeah.
I built a Oldhim deck. I need to rework it because I learned by the end of my first game he doesn't do well with a balanced set of card colors. He wants blues.
Yes.
Because all of his skills are quite expensive.
Yes.
So I went with the standard, all right, I'm going to have a pretty well balanced. And I went, I can't play anything.
Yeah, you need heavy blues for Oldhim.
Yeah, so I need to rework that. But other than that, I really enjoy him. He definitely fits my...
Did you proxy his legendary shield?
No. I'm not that type of guy. I don't even like proxies in miniatures games. So I did get to give him a go. I need to, like I said, sit and actually rebuild that and move some things around. I haven't opened any packs for the new set, but I'd like to at some point.
Well, maybe we can do that before we part ways today.
That would be fun. Crack some packs.
Go up to GT, crack some packs.
Yeah, maybe
maybe we see some of the local guys for MCP tonight before you guys head out for dinner.
Yeah, that gives us Anyway, that's a sideboard. They don't care what we're doing.
How about you, Paul?
I've gotten to do a lot of fun stuff recently.
Besides kicking my teeth in?
Besides kicking your teeth in Song of Ice and Fire, I'll go all the way back. I got to test out BattleTech.
Oh, BattleTech.
Yeah, I got to try that out because you always hear like, oh, it's so clunky and there's so much to it, and let me tell you, worth it, absolutely worth all of it. And what makes it great is that all the stuff that there is to it. So it is a crunchy game, right? But the thing is that it doesn't have necessarily the rules overhead that you might expect from like Infinity.
Mm-hmm.
It's all logical steps.
Okay.
Right? So it's like, all right, I'm going to shoot. How far away I am changes what I need to hit you. The type of weapon changes what I need to hit you, very much like Infinity on that. And then, you figure out that range and then you shoot and you hit. And then once you hit, you figure out where those hits went, and that can depend on what angle you were firing at them from. And then it looks like War Machine, where it's got the big old massive amount of checkboxes that you need to fill out. You destroy the outer armor, then you start destroying the inner armor.
Cool. I like it.
Yeah, so I mean, it makes logical sense. And even at that, even the progression of attacks makes sense. Say you're shooting at me with missiles. You have to see if you hit me with the missiles. Then you find out how many missiles you shot, and then you find out where each one of those hit.
So there's a lot of steps. Like
There's
every time you do something.
a lot of steps, but it's a progression, and it tells you the story. It becomes very narrative, right? Because you're watching a pilot who's going, "Oh crap! I keep getting hit on my left side. That one's going to go." And then your head. If you get hit in the head, once that's gone, you blow up. And you can even have one of the things that you do have to risk and reward is called heat. So it's a giant robot. So robots are going to generate heat as they're doing things, and if you get too hot, bad things happen. Like if you start building up heat, you start slowing down, or you can't fire as well, and then eventually you just lose your robot because it exploded. But then, depending on where you hit, once the outer armor's destroyed, you start getting the opportunity for crits, and then really bad things happen. Like, for instance, if you get hit in the chest or an arm or someplace essentially where your ammo is kept, your ammo can explode.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, because you're hitting the exoskeleton underneath, right?
Yep, exactly. You're hitting underneath. So, like, at one point when I was playing, we completely had the progression of, oh my gosh, I got hit hard. Oh my gosh, my outer armor's gone. Oh my gosh, my ammo dump is going. Oh shit, I'm done. So, and it was like literally like that type of roll of like, all right, the ammo's gone. All right, or the outer armor's gone. All right, now it's a crit. Oh crap, it hit the ammo supply. Now everything's just blowing up.
Hi guys.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like just fun watching, like, as you went through all of those steps, you could imagine the pilot, pressing buttons, trying to mitigate the damage, and then just finally being like, fuck.
Eject!
And then it allows, it also feels very much like RPG-like, because on some levels, if you can imagine it, it can happen. So to give you an idea on this one, I went and one of my mechs got surrounded by two other smaller ones, right? And so they kind of got swarmed, and he's my sniper, and I'm like, I need him shooting far. I don't need him, tied up by these guys. And so these little guys, mine was a medium-sized mech. These were two light ones, and as they're hitting me, since they're hitting a heavier guy, they're damaging themselves because they're hitting a tougher object. But when I went to swing back, I'm like, oh, I have options. It's not just dice rolling. So I looked and I'm like, I have the option to kick him. I'm gonna kick him. But if I fail, I can fall over. So I can like completely whiff and fall over. Whereas if I punch him, it's gonna be less strong of a hit, but I'm not gonna fall over. So I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna kick him.
I'm gonna kick him.
So I kicked him, literally kicked off his leg.
Amazing.
And so then he fell over.
Sweep the leg.
Sweep the leg. I swept this. It was like a little chicken walker kind of thing too. So it was like kicked out the leg.
So good.
And when you read the rules for kicking off a limb or destroying a limb like that, it literally says, make sure you leave something in that hex to represent the leg or the limb so you can use it as a club.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
So I picked up the limb and I bashed the shit out of that little chicken walker with its own leg.
That's amazing.
So that is very old school War Machine.
It is very much it very much has that very narrative, and it's yes, it is a lot. There are, unlike Kings of War, there are a lot of charts. But once you kind of get into it, it becomes really easy to remember.
All right.
So highly recommend at least checking it out. The fact that it's got hexes, you don't have to worry about measuring, is super cool. There is some squirreliness with not line of sight so much, but more how many hexes you are away. Because if you're in like kind of that situation where you're not quite dead on, and you're like, oh, okay, well now I got to jump up here and jump back, and so it can feel a little wonky. That was probably my biggest complaint on that. But overall, it made it really easy. I bought the beginner box and got it for like $15. It had 2 models in it, quick start rules,
Right.
and map to play on.
And you were able to get going pretty quick.
Yeah, I got going on that, and then
So past the Christmas morning check?
Oh, absolutely. You don't even have things to punch out.
Nice.
And then Steven, the guy I was playing with, he had the bigger starter box, which that's a hell of a deal too, because it's $60 and comes with 8 models. Those 8 models alone are worth $50 if you bought them separately.
Dang.
All right.
So basically, you're paying $10 for the rule book.
Not bad at all.
Plus, it comes with another mat. And then the other cool thing too is that I don't even know what company makes the game, but they make map packs that you can buy.
Cool.
Yeah, so you can change what maps you are, and even at that, if you have 2 maps next to each other and you want to play it a little differently, you turn one of them.
Oh, neat.
Right, because then they're lining up differently.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So lots of neat little things like that. The models are pretty cool, and just again that narrative storytelling to it is definitely there. So I highly recommend checking it out.
Yeah, I guess if you like slow, stompy bots, that sounds like a pretty awesome.
Yeah, and they actually have 2 versions of the game. I don't know if you know this or not. They have a version called Alpha Strike, and what Alpha Strike is it's meant to be more akin to a more traditional war game. So a lot quicker. You have like little cards, and they have wounds and stuff like that. So one of the cool things about that is that actually allows you to field a lot more of your toys.
Oh, we do like playing with our toys.
Right. So it gives you the option to play really either way. You can either play Alpha Strike and play with more toys, or you can play traditional BattleTech and play with less toys, but get that more narrative story.
Love it.
The other really fun thing I got to do at the last barn day, we got 4 of us together and played Chain of Command. And instead of playing 2 different games, we all decided that we were going to play one big game, so this way the 2 other players could learn. And everybody took control of a platoon, and we put 2 objectives on the table, and each platoon had their objective. So my Germans and Brian's Germans, we had a crossroads to take and a farmhouse to take, and there was a platoon of Americans defending the house and a platoon of Americans defending the crossroads, and it was one of the funnest games I've ever played.
Period.
It was just that much fun because one of the reasons is because you had your complete agency as you would over your platoon, right? So you would do everything you would if it was a 1-player game. The difference was that you also had to pay attention to what was happening just to the side of you.
To your buddy.
Right. So it's like, okay, I'm worried about taking this objective. That's their objective there. How much do I need to worry about what they're doing? If they start failing, is that going to create a situation where now I'm going to have to deal with them? So you're focused on your objective, but you still need to be aware of what else is happening around you.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, so it made it really fun. It was, now don't get me wrong, it ended up being a very long game.
Yep.
But Chain of Command doesn't necessarily really have like a certain amount of rounds you play.
Right. You play till the victory conditions.
Yeah, you play until the victory conditions, or if you're a campaign, you pull out when you're like, shit, my guys can't handle this, and we need to decide we're going to fight another day. So it took a long time, and what was really interesting is that in Chain of Command, with the command dice that you roll each turn, if you get 2 6s, you get 2 phases in a row.
Oh yes.
And I think all of us, at least once in the game, had 3 phases in a row.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so it was pretty amazing because, and the way it works with a multiple player game like that is whoever gets your multiple phases, they do everything they need to do, kind of as like before everybody starts their turn.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it was really cool, and it was neat just seeing Bob put together a 8x4 table for us to use, and it actually worked out to be a very good learning way to play the game to get people to learn.
Very cool. Because it was you, Jim.
No, it was me and Brian on one side, and Bob and Adam on the other side.
I thought for some reason I thought Jim was playing.
No, he I don't know. He had football, or I don't know, whatever he does. But yeah, so it was a really cool way to teach the game, and so each of us had a new player on our side, so this way we could.
Very cool.
And it was fun too because we took time before the game where like the other side left the barn, so we could look over the map and strategize and what we're going to put where. And one of the things Brian and I did for our support, we put out a mortar bombardment, and we figured out exactly how to do that and to get it. So this way, it covered almost all of the jump off points for the airborne. Very cool. So it forced him to have to go into some places that he didn't want, and it helped. So it was a lot of fun. It was highly recommend giving that a go. And then played Song of Ice and Fire with Potter, and that went well for me. But I also owed you for convincing me to make a Song of Ice and Fire purchase.
Yeah, which is now a new secret project.
Yeah, it's going to be my secret project.
I'm not the only one with one
secret project, but I'm gonna not jump in quite as headfirst as you are.
It took me like 2 years to accumulate what I have for that army.
Right, but I'm gonna try and paint.
My
secret project before.
Good luck.
I know.
War Gamer famous last words.
I know, but I'm doing well with my Chain of Command stuff. Our next game in August, we're going to try and convert the rules for a standard game of Chain of Command into all armored.
So tanks.
Yeah. So we figured out how to set up tank platoons, and we kind of just adjusted things. So I'll be able to let everybody know how that went.
That one I might have to try and come and watch. I won't play it.
It's going to be fun.
I'll come and watch.
It's going to be a good one. It'll be very interesting to see if what adjustments we might need to make as far as the house rules to make it work. But
yeah,
I'm pretty stoked.
Yeah, still not a big desire to play any kind of historical games.
I wasn't either, and then I played this game.
I know.
Wasn't either. It's just a well-designed game and a lot of fun.
Give it to me in a fantasy setting or a sci-fi setting, I'll play it.
It's easy. Bust out your Warhammer stuff.
I don't own any Warhammer stuff.
I have. There's actually a Legion skin for it too.
Is there?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then
I have to go back and look at it. I have. Because there's a 40K one and there is a Legion one. But yeah, so we can try it.
Okay.
I'll gladly. Let me find the Legion stuff and I'll teach you.
That'll do.
Yeah. So that's it. That's my gaming.
Cool.
That's all I got. It was a lot, but it was fun.
So I just looked over. Kevin's Gundam's gonna be huge.
I know. I see that. Look, I did my body.
You're so slow.
And I did my head. But look, I actually had to do 2 heads because he's got the extra one stuck onto his body. So, yeah. So there's that. But yes, I'm also slow. But I also did my...
Do you need a walker?
Yes, I do. I need a walker. Tennis balls on the bottom. That's the only way I'll take a walker. So I guess final thoughts.
I'm glad Kevin could come down.
Oh man,
This
I'm
is so fun.
so glad to spend some time.
It's been a fun day.
Got to play a game of Quacks of Quedlinburg.
The game was so much fun.
Yeah, that game was fun.
Paul fucking finessed us.
Dude,
He was
he
down for like the first 3/4 of the game.
came from the
and then just came from
backfield.
the backfield. and
Four
destroyed
rat
us.
tails. That made the difference. Four rat
That
tails.
4 rat tail turn, man. You really turned it around.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
your bag just started providing. Like, you had been like building this engine, and that was when the engine was built.
Yep.
And it just started firing for you.
I went from first to last.
Once I figured out what engine I was going to use and got it built.
Yeah, I figured my engine out way too late in the game.
Well, your fart gas helped you.
My fart gas did help a lot.
Love
Yeah.
that forecast.
You should have loaded up on the fart gas.
I should have. It was I could have still only get 1 point. No, is it 1 point per?
It was
Up to three.
three.
Up to 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still a lot of victory points.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it is.
But my pumpkin mushroom combo, those last 2 turns,
Gas.
yeah,
Gas.
just got around,
Yep.
and it still kept me just behind.
Yes.
Yeah,
fine.
just behind until you came out.
Until you got the couple 4s. And
Yeah,
like really
those 2
turned it
4s.
on.
Yeah, that was when I was like, all right, I'm not buying enough high number stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Really turned it on.
Yep. So my final thought is I'm super glad that you're here, hanging out, and that we're getting to play games and build Gundams and show you all the sights and feed you unhealthy fried
God.
North Carolina food.
Have you had barbecue yet?
Oh, twice.
Okay, good.
Good.
Yeah.
Wait, where'd you go?
Oh my God. It's like one name sounded really pretentious. Shit. We'll have to look, like, not on air. I'll have to look it up. But I went to and one was a food cart, and it was like PD Pig's pig something food cart.
I mean, it was probably amazing because it's a food truck.
It was
probably.
amazing. Yeah, it was so great. One of the things that they had was they were called muddy fries. And it was just like a basket of French fries. And then it had gravy made from brisket liquid, like brisket fat gravy.
I've never had brisket gravy.
So it was brisket gravy, and then it had a bunch of cheese melted on it and brisket. And there were some hush puppies laid over the top of it, and like green onion, and it was sour cream. And so it was amazing.
Hashtag welcome to the South.
Yeah, I was like, that's. I was going to say that's like the South's version of poutine.
Yes, but except for like, because it was like the brisket gravy, it had this like, it was just like an almost overwhelming smoky flavor, but it was so good. It was just like smoky, beefy gravy.
Yeah, you also find the name so I can look their truck up and see where they're at because I got to try that.
Yeah, it was great. And I'll think of the name of the other place, and it was also super good.
Was it a vinegar base?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sauce. Yeah.
That's what Kakalak is known for.
Quite good.
Good.
Big fan.
Yeah, so super glad you're here. Hopefully we can do this all again soon.
Yes, I would be down for that.
Yeah.
We'll have to go up north the next time.
I know. Now it's our turn to go up.
And I can feed you guys full of cheese.
Hell yeah. I'm all about
I'm
the
game
cheese.
for that.
Yeah, I fully support this.
Cheese and beer. That's what we've got.
Yeah, I'll take up on that. I've been including slowly alcohol back into my regime. I've got a thing of Boddingtons in the refrigerator right now.
All right.
So I'll take you up on that.
All right. Well, I think that's it.
I guess it's time for a trademark. Bye!